Part 4. The Liu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 31. Chapter 31 Avril Lavigne. Eating can't stop your mouths, can it? Let me tell you, you are all wrong in your calculations. Zhu has a very good relationship with his sister. You should also be kind and don't let Liu Zhu hear it with his own ears. You all know his temper. Gu Jinchu, who had been ambushing for a long time, suddenly appeared and warned. In an instant, everyone lost their arrogance and dispersed one by one. When did you come back? You didn't even say hello. Gu Jinchu walked over and hugged the girl who had just stood up for Liu Zhu. I just came back today. Isn't this to celebrate your birthday? The girl smiled gracefully. Those people are really good at talking. I can't stand listening anymore. If Brothers is who hears it, it will be over. We should just hide it and pretend that nothing happened, the girl continued. Okay, you just came back and you can say whatever you want. When are you leaving again? What? I just came back and wish I had left? I will never leave again. Our family is ready to develop here, the girl continued to say with a smile. Really? That's great. Can I take you over to say hello to Zijo? Okay, I want to meet his cute little sister, the girl said excitedly. So Gu Jinchu led the girl to the area where Liu Zhu was. The two people were still arguing, sitting on the sofa with enough space for two people to sit in the middle. Zhu, look who's back. Liu Zhu thought Gu Jinchu was playing tricks on him, so he ignored him and continued to indulge in his own world. Seeing that Liu Zhu didn't turn around, Gu Jinchu smiled awkwardly. The girl also smiled, and then decided to say hello herself. Brothers Zhu, I'm back, she shouted excitedly. Suddenly a strange voice came out and the two people on the sofa were caught off guard. They turned around in synchronization and saw a beautiful face. It was a mixed-race girl with delicate and deep facial features. Because she was well dressed, she added a few points. Very beautiful. Zhang Wanan was a little confused, but Liu Zhu looked surprised. Avril, when did you come back? How are you today? Are you surprised? Are you surprised? I won't leave when I come back this time, Avril said as she walked over and took the initiative to hug Liu Zhu. Then Gu Jinchu and Avril sat down on the sofa. Avril is a good friend of Liu Zhu and Gu Jinchu. Her family went abroad for development 4 years ago and only came back this year. I've always heard from my parents that you have a cute sister, and she is indeed very cute when I see her today, Avril said as she stood up from Liu Zhu and walked over to pinch Zhang Wanan's face. Hello, sister, Zhang Wanan greeted obediently. Avril did not expect that Zhang Wanan would take the initiative to greet her and said excitedly, hello, little sister. Hey, by the way, let's have dinner together when we have time, just take it as a break for me, okay, Avril said while squeezing Zhang Wanan's little face. Zhang Wanan's eyes lit up when she heard the word eat, and she clapped her hands before the two people could answer. You are so interesting, sister, Avril teased Zhang Wanan and seemed to like her very much. Well, let's make an appointment then, Liu Zhu replied calmly. You are still as boring after not seeing me for so long, just like you were when I left, Avril smiled bitterly and shook her head helplessly. Liu Zhu lowered his head and sneered without saying anything. Although they are generally young, children like them who are born in this kind of family have experienced a lot since they were young, are more sensible than others since they were young, and are much more mature than children of the same age, because they will have to experience a lot in the future. The burden they carry on their shoulders is not just to study well and get a good job in the future. End of this chapter. The Liu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 32. Chapter 32 Leave her alone for a while. I just returned to China, and I don't have any little sisters in the country. How about I come and play with you when I get bored? Avril asked politely. Okay, Zhang Wanan agreed quickly and happily. How about we catch up on old times later? I am the protagonist today. What does it mean that the protagonist suddenly disappeared at the birthday party? Gu Jinchu finally couldn't help it. Then let's go to the front together, Avril said. Let's go. Loses, who stood up, straightened his clothes, and strode forward, no longer caring about Zhang Wanan. Because Avril is quite reliable, Loses, who feels relieved with Zhang Wanan by her side. It's much better than just following him and annoying Zhang Wanan. But when Zhang Wanan saw Loses, who suddenly leaving, she felt a little panicked, because the two of them were basically inseparable except for school and some special circumstances. Ming clearly agreed last night that I would stay by his side, but that person had already left on his own. Sure enough, a man's mouth is a liar. Zhang Wanan stood there in a daze. Avril pulled her a few times and looked at her worriedly. What's wrong? Are you feeling uncomfortable? Zhang Wanan came back to his senses and smiled sweetly. It's okay, let's go. Gu Jinchu's birthday party was nothing more than inviting friends to his house to play and relax under the guise of a birthday, so after cutting the cake and eating, it was all about games. Zhang Wanan was too young to play with them, Loses, who didn't like this kind of place, and Avril was not used to it just after returning to China, so the three of them went back to hide in the back. Avril noticed that the atmosphere between Loses Who and Zhang Wanan was not right, and she was a little embarrassed to be caught in the middle. She coughed a few times and asked cautiously, did you two quarrel? Zhang Wanan didn't say anything, but Loses Who glanced at her and said, who told you? Does this need to be said? Even a fool can see it. Okay, Avril complained. There was no quarrel. They did not quarrel, it was just a temporary Cold War, and no one wanted to deal with the other. Then why don't you speak? Avril asked with some confusion. Why do you keep talking when you have nothing to do? Aren't you noisy? Loses Who asked, raising his eyebrows. Avril suddenly realized that Loses Who seemed to be talking about her, so she touched her nose awkwardly, and then stopped talking. So the three of them spent the whole night in silence, so much so that Gu Jinchu was a little surprised when he came back from having fun. What's wrong with you? Your vocal cords are broken. Three people. Silence. Hello, didn't you hear me? Still silent. Okay, I'm just asking for it. Gu Jinchu spread his hands helplessly and left this terrible place. Finally, after dozens of minutes, Zhang Wanan broke the silence. She sneezed first, then yawned, and then whispered, I want to sleep. Loses Who? Huh, do you want to sleep now? I just ignore you and leave you alone for a while. I want to find my mother. Zhang Wanan's voice was filled with tears. Loses Who? I'll endure it just a little longer, just a little while longer. I'm going to cry. Zhang Wanan murmured pitifully in a low voice without anyone paying attention. Avril finally couldn't stand it anymore and called out to Loses Who, Brothers Who, are you deaf? Loses Who? Zhang Wanan saw that Loses Who was still ignoring her, so she jumped off the sofa with her short legs and ran to Loses Who, looking up at him. Loses Who avoided her sight, thinking that if this guy liked Gu Jinchu so much, he would torture her for a while longer. Just a moment, I promise. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yun. Chapter 33. Chapter 33, Giving Gifts. Brother Zhang Wanan tugged at the corner of his clothes and called out softly. Okay, I can't bear it anymore. What's wrong? He asked her, pretending to be serious. I'm sleepy, I miss my dad and mom, I want to go home, Zhang Wanan answered truthfully. Are you still angry? No gambling. Obviously he was angry too. Why did he only talk about herself? Men are indeed big pig hooves. Loses Who did not pursue the matter any further and said angrily, let's go. Wait a minute. Zhang Wanan took Loses Who's hand, turned around and asked, What should I do about Sister Avril? It's okay, you go ahead, I'll ask my dad to pick me up later, Avril said with a smile. So the two people said goodbye to each other before leaving. Lu Zizhu and Zhang Wanan went to the front to greet Gu Jinshu, but were greeted with silence as soon as they walked over. Lu Zizhu was silent for a moment. It seemed that there was no need to say hello. Goodbye, brother Jinshu, Zhang Wanan said without giving up. What resulted was Lu Zizhu's scolding, don't pay attention to him, let him continue to be silent. Gu Jinshu, why is this? Why can they be silent, but he should be treated like this when he is silent? Oh my God! Oh Earth! Doesn't it make sense anymore? Goodbye Anan, remember to miss my brother, Gu Jinshu shouted in a coquettish tone, thinking, don't you like to be jealous? You think I can't see it? I'm going to kill you. Without you as a brother, I'm a loser. Snort. Lu Zizhu let Zhang Wanan out, and the Gu family sent a car to send the two children back. Brother, are you still angry? Zhang Wanan asked cautiously after getting in the car. Well, a little bit, Lu Zizhu replied calmly. Why are you angry? To be honest, Zhang Wanan really didn't understand. You wouldn't understand even if I told you. All right. Suddenly, the car sank, and there was only the sound of breathing and Zhang Wanan's yawning. It was already very late when I got home. Zhang Wanan usually goes to bed early, so as soon as he got home, he greeted Lu Lin and Lin 11 and prepared to go to bed. But before he entered the door, he was stopped by Lu Zizhu. Can you wait a moment? Don't sleep yet, just wait for a while, it'll be fine in a short while, Lu Zizhu begged anxiously. What are you doing? Zhang Wanan asked, rubbing his eyes. We'll find out later. After saying this, Lu Zizhu ran into Lin 11's room. Mom, where are the things, where are you putting them? Lu Zizhu asked eagerly. Lin 11 took out the gift box and handed it to him. What's in this? You have to be considerate when giving things to girls. Toy. Lu Zizhu dropped the two words and ran out. As soon as he entered Zhang Wanan's room, he found her curled up on the bed. Lu Zizhu's heart sank, and he let out a long sigh, thinking that he was still a step too late, and that he fell asleep too quickly. Just as he was about to turn around and leave, he heard a weak voice, I haven't slept yet, I kept my eyes open. Then Lu Zizhu saw Zhang Wanan holding his eyes with his two little fingers. Lu Zizhu lowered his head and smiled, walked over and gave the gift to her, and said awkwardly, Here, I picked it up when I was picking out gifts for Gu Jinshu today, and I gave it to you. That was the first time he gave a girl a gift. Zhang Wanan's eyes lit up when she saw the gift box, and she lost sleep instantly. She crawled over and picked up the gift box and asked, What is it? Take it apart and take a look, I'm sure you'll like it, Lu Zizhu said confidently. So Zhang Wanan opened the gift with great anticipation, and what she found was an Ultraman robot. How was it? Do you like it? Lu Zizhu asked expectantly. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yun. Chapter 34. Chapter 34 will protect her toys. In the absence of her brother, the Ultraman sent by her brother will protect Anan. Zhang Wanan. Zhang Wanan. I feel sleepy again. Why is this? Did you confuse my gift with that of brother Jinshu? Zhang Wanan asked uncertainly. Girls' gifts should be dolls, hair accessories, and the like, right? This. Don't you like it? I remember you disappeared in the game room when you were a child. When I found you, you were sleeping with an Ultraman in your arms. I thought you would like it very much. I like it? I like it so much. Anan likes whatever my brother gives me. I will hold him to sleep tonight. When my brother is not around, the Ultraman he gave me will protect Anan. Zhang Wanan excitedly held Ultraman in her arms. Answer. Lu Zizhu smiled with satisfaction. That was the first time Lu Zizhu paid so much attention to giving Zhang Wanan a gift. I just didn't know what to give to a girl, so I gave her a toy that boys generally like. In fact, to be honest, very few girls like Ultraman toys. Well, you go to bed early, I'm going back to the room first, good night. After saying this, Loses Who stood up and walked out. After Loses Who walked out, Jongwon poked Ultraman with her little finger. Oh, brother is so stupid. Although he said he was disgusted, his body honestly held the toy in his arms, not caring whether it might hit him or not. The next morning when Lin 11 woke up, she was thinking about what the gift was, so Jongwon was questioned as soon as she came down. "Anan, what did my brother give you yesterday?" Mom is a little curious, Lin 11 asked mysteriously. She would like to know what good things her good son can give. "An Ultraman, very good looking, able to protect Anan," Jongwon said with a smile like a little fool. Lin 11. She knew that her son, the straight man, would not give anything good, and only a little fool like Jongwon would be so happy. Other girls would probably make trouble. "It's hard for you, honey," Lin 11 sighed. Jongwon's eyes widened and she waved her little hand. "It's not difficult, it's not difficult. Anan likes it?" Lin 11 couldn't help but laugh when she saw her silly look. He said dotingly, "Baby, mommy is going to buy more walnuts today to supplement your little head. If you don't make up for it now, otherwise Jongwon's IQ will definitely be bullied by Loses Who in the future." After breakfast, their mission is still to go to school, but this time there are no longer the three of them in the school car. This time there is one more, Avril, who just returned to China yesterday. They met Avril at the bus stop on the way. That road happened to be the road they must pass every day, so she was spotted by the sharp-eyed Jongwon. The little girl stood there alone waiting for the bus, looking very calm, but they still pulled over and called Avril up, because Lin 11 hadn't seen the little girl for a long time. "Sister Avril, we meet again." Jongwon's eyes were so happy that she almost stopped laughing when she saw Avril. "Yes, what a coincidence. I think it must be fate that made us meet." After she finished speaking, she glanced at the silent Loses Who. "Avril, why did you take the bus to school alone when you just returned to China?" "Where are your parents?" Lin 11 asked in confusion. She had just returned to China and she was still unfamiliar with it. No matter how reassured her parents were, they couldn't do this. "It's okay, Aunt Lin. Our family lives here temporarily, very close to the school. Yesterday, my parents took me to get acquainted with each other. I think I should be more independent and go to school by myself," Avril said optimistically. She also went to and from school alone when she was abroad. Her parents never picked her up unless there were special circumstances, so she had long been used to it. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 35. Chapter 35. Being at the same desk as the squad leader. "Oh, you said your school is nearby. Is it the same school as Xiaozhou? That would be a coincidence." "Really? Maybe we are classmates. If it's brothers as who, you have to take more care of me," Avril said with a smile. On the other hand, Loses Who just nodded lightly without saying anything. Loses Who didn't speak until he arrived at Jongwon's kindergarten. "Be obedient." "Okay," Jongwon agreed seriously before getting out of the car with her small school bag on her back. Sure enough, after a while, it was confirmed that the two of them were indeed from the same school. "It's your first day of reporting today. Do you want Auntie to send you in to say hello to the teacher?" "No, Aunt Lin, my daddy and mommy already said hello to the teacher last night. I'll just go to the teacher's office in a moment." "Well, you all can go in together, Auntie will leave first." As expected, it was a coincidence that during class, Loses Who's class teacher brought in a mixed-race girl and grandly introduced her as a new classmate to welcome the students. Loses Who didn't have much reaction, but when Gu Jinchu saw that the new classmate was Avril, he couldn't help but get excited, waved his hand to attract Avril's attention, and even said hello to Avril. Avril Lavigne responded with a smile. "Avril, pick a seat," the head teacher said softly. Avril looked at the only 3 seats left in the class with some embarrassment and didn't know how to choose. At this moment, Gu Jinchu made another mistake. "Teacher, please move my desk mate away. I know Avril well and I can take care of her." "Don't make trouble." The teacher naturally didn't know that Avril was friends with Gu Jinchu and loses who, so he just thought it was because Gu Jinchu, a new classmate, was excited. "Since it's hard for you to choose, just sit at the same table as the monitor and let the monitor take care of you," the head teacher said reasonably. Gu Jinchu glanced at the squad leader, then turned around and said with a smile, "Same. Because their class monitor is loses who." Loses who raised his head in surprise when his name was called. "Teacher, I have a desk mate. I've changed it for you. Take more care of your new classmates in the future." Loses who, "It's too casual, but Avril is his friend and he can't let her lose face, so he has no choice but to agree." Avril was almost overjoyed after finding out that the class monitor was loses who, but she didn't dare to show it because she was concerned about her teachers and classmates. She calmly walked to loses who's table, then said sorry to his desk mate and sat down. "Hello, desk mate, we will have another relationship in the future. Let me tell you, it must be fate that brings us together again. Stop talking and take out your books. It's time for class soon." Loses who, a good student and monitor, said seriously and responsibly. Avril pouted, "Okay." Avril was not as popular as the other new students on her first day here because she offended the whole class by speaking for loses who at Gu Jinchu's birthday party yesterday. She didn't know at that time that those people would become her classmates today. If she had known, she wouldn't have beaten them to death so harshly, and would have definitely spoken more tactfully. So Avril did not take the initiative to show friendship to those people throughout the whole day. She just sat in her seat honestly, although she was a little bored. However, Gu Jinchu invited her to hang out several times but was rejected. The reason was, she had just come back and was not familiar with domestic textbooks and wanted to read more. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 36. Chapter 36, Walking Silently. The 3 of them went out together after school in the afternoon. The 3 of them were very good looking. Walking together on campus was the brightest sight, so the 3 of them were watched by many classmates along the way. Gu Jinchu had never paid attention to his image before. After school, he would run out with a basketball like a madman. Apart from stealing the limelight on the basketball court, he had never been discussed like this by others. He seemed to enjoy this feeling and couldn't help but chuckle along the way. Regarding this, Loses who and Avril rolled their eyes in unison to express their disdain for him. "What are you looking at? Do friends like me embarrass you? Am I no longer worthy of you?" Gu Jinchu said angrily. No, no, we don't have it, and we can't do anything you think." Avril spread her hands helplessly. Gu Jinchu, "Okay, bully people." Loses who and Avril looked at each other helplessly and said nothing. "Brother," a young and familiar voice sounded. The 3 of them looked at the school gate and immediately saw the short man standing in the front. The little man was waiting for Loses who to come over with a smile on his face and his short arms. Loses who smiled gently and walked over quickly to pick her up. "Is school over?" Zhang Wanan lay on Loses who's shoulder and politely greeted Avril and Gu Jinchu. Then quietly but unable to hide his excitement, he leaned into Loses who's ear and said, "Brother, we have a big dinner tonight." "Why?" Loses who asked her with a smile. "Dad was on a business trip, and Mom took us to eat delicious food," Zhang Wanan explained. Then why don't you wait until Dad is at home or when he comes back to eat?" I don't know, you can ask Mom later." Zhang Wanan scratched his ears and helplessly spread his fingers, pointing to Lin 11 aside. "I'm really a foodie, I think about eating every day," Loses who said, scratching her little nose lovingly. No, Annan is still thinking about her brother Jongwanan explained hurriedly. Luz's whose smile grew even stronger when he heard what she said. Avril, who had been standing for a while, quietly asked Gu Jinchu, does Luz's who only laugh a lot when he is with Annan? Well, it seems so. I didn't pay much attention to him, he just has facial paralysis, Gu Jinchu complained. Auntie, I'm leaving first, it's time for my dad and mom to worry if I'm late when I get back, Avril said. Yes, Auntie, I'm leaving now, see you next time, Gu Jinchu said. How about you go to dinner with Auntie? There are only 3 of us anyway, Lin 11 invited them. Forget it, Auntie, let's do it next time, Avril refused. Next time, Auntie, I'll go back today, otherwise my buttocks will bloom soon, Gu Jinchu said. Lin 11 smiled and said, okay then, please go slower on the road, Lin 11 warned. After the 2 children left, the 3 of them also got into the car. Mom, my dad is on a business trip again. Yeah, but I was so angry that you just left without even telling me, Lin 11 said angrily. Lu Lin used to tell her when he was on a business trip, but this time he left silently, and he still can't get through on the phone. He only heard this news from the company employees. I will definitely fix him up when he comes back. I think he is just a loser. The more Lin 11 thought about it, the angrier he became. Could he die just by making a phone call? As a result, no phone calls were made. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 37. Chapter 37 Not Practical. Jongwanan and Luz's who on the other side silently blessed Lu Lin in their hearts after hearing this. They really hoped that their father would call his mother before she went to bed, otherwise it would be really useless to come back. I didn't expect that my dad would become more active and capable as he got older. He would go on a business trip without even saying a word. It will definitely make my mother worry again. No one should protect your father when he comes back, or I'll beat you up too, Lin 11 gave a direct order to die. It seems that Lao Lu is doomed. What do you want to eat? Mom will take you there, Lin 11 finally returned to the topic of eating. The 2 children looked at me and I looked at you, but neither of them seemed to dare to speak. Lin 11 saw their fear and said helplessly, it's Dad I'm complaining about, why are you so timid? Tell me what to eat, or I'll cook it for you when you get home. Once the 2 of them heard that Lin 11 was going to feed them, they no longer dared to remain silent. I'll just leave it to Annan and see what she wants to eat, Luz's who said in a gentlemanly manner. Lin 11 seemed calm on the surface, but in fact, he was already complaining in his heart, thinking, this guy is quite good, and he also knows how to let the girl choose where to eat. The 2 people turned their attention to Jongwanan, who saw Jongwanan with her eyes closed and her fingers poking her chin, thinking seriously, which seemed a bit amusing. After a while, Jongwanan opened her eyes, and what she came up with after thinking for a long time was, KFC. Luz's who, Lin 11, dot. You're almost eating like KFC, Luz's who complained mercilessly. I don't know why I love KFC so much, but eating too much is definitely not good. She is still young and can't be too indulgent. Some bad habits need to be corrected in time. Baby, instead of eating KFC today, how about we eat some healthy vegetables, Lin 11 asked patiently. Jongwanan thought that even Luz's who already disliked her, so KFC would definitely be in trouble, so she had no choice but to agree with Lin 11's statement. The choice then returned to Lin 11's hands. After thinking about it, Lin 11 told the driver the name of the place. It was a place she often went to. It was an old restaurant with delicious food. She used to eat there with her friends when she was in college, and it was also her first meal with Lu Lin. We ate here and it was also where Lu Lin confessed his love to her. To be honest, she has a lot of good memories here, so she likes this store very much. A sense of familiarity hit everyone as soon as they entered. When the 3 of them ordered their dishes and sat there waiting for their meals, Lin 11 poured a glass of water and then fell into deep thought. Lin 11 seemed to be so serious for the first time, so Jongwanan and Luzes who were so frightened that they didn't dare to speak. They looked at each other with big eyes and small eyes, not knowing what to say. A few minutes later, Lin 11 suddenly said, "It would be great if Dad was here." The two of them did not dare to speak. After a while, he asked, "What on earth did Dad do? Why do I always feel uneasy?" "Dad won't do anything bad anyway," Luzes who said matter-of-factly. He knew about his father. There must be something going on, that was why he didn't have time to call his mother. "Maybe Dad's cell phone battery is out of battery," Jongwanan said. "I hope so, but I just feel like, oh, I won't say anything anymore. I'll contact you later and have a look. Let's eat first, my dears." After eating, the three of them went to a nearby shopping mall to buy some new clothes and food for the two children, and then returned home. The car had just stopped, and Lin 11's cell phone rang before Lin 11's feet even touched the ground. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 38. Chapter 38. The child was an accident. The person who answered the phone was the person she had been worrying about all day. "What did you do? Why did you leave without saying hello? Do you know that I am worried?" "I'm sorry, honey, my phone ran out of battery before I left. I left in a hurry this time and I didn't prepare anything. I came to the hotel to charge as soon as I got off the plane and called you as soon as possible. Don't worry." "Yes, I'm fine." "It's okay, I thought you didn't want us three anymore." "How could it be? Don't think too much." "Is there anything urgent?" Lin 11 finally brought the question back to the topic. "Well, the friend I told you about last time, we have a very good relationship, but, he is sick. It seems that it has only been in the past 2 days, and he really wants to see me." "Okay, I understand, you should pay attention to your own safety. Don't worry, go to bed early." The two of them talked for a few more words, and Lulin talked to the two children for a few more words before hanging up the phone. "I just said Daddy is fine, don't worry," Luzes who said. Lin 11 shook her head. Her sixth sense told her that things were not that simple and she had to check it out. "Mom may have to go out of town tomorrow. Can you two let Aunt Wang take you?" "I will explain it tomorrow." Luzes who is so smart. He can tell that this is not simple just by observing his words. Otherwise, why would mother go out even if her father said it was fine? But he didn't say anything, just to reassure Lin 11. "We are no longer children, Mom, don't worry." Jongwanan, the little man, said suddenly. Lin 11 and Luzes who were speechless at the same time. Even though she was the youngest, she still had to pretend to be sensible and strong, like a little adult. The other side. "Doctor, am I okay? Can I be discharged from the hospital tomorrow?" Lulin asked. "As the saying goes, it takes 100 days to break your muscles and bones, but you can't go on without even 1 day. The main thing is that I have to rush to see a friend. The key is that my wife and children are still worried at home." "What kind of friend is so important that you don't even want your legs? If you hadn't been so anxious, you wouldn't have been hit by a car today. Isn't this okay? What's the matter? Do you still think something is wrong? You patients now just don't let us doctors worry. Let your family members take care of you tomorrow." Lulin. Today is really unlucky, Lulin thought to himself. It seems that he will stay here for a while. He has to think about how to deal with Lin 11. Also, his friends must watch. He has to think of a way tomorrow. Lulin thought and glanced helplessly at the broken leg. Fortunately, it was a motorcycle that hit him. The key was that it wasn't going very fast, otherwise he would be really disabled. As soon as Lin 11 entered the house and packed up the food she bought, she went back to her room and made a phone call to inquire about insiders in the company. But the most knowledgeable secretary didn't even know about Lu Lin's business trip this time, and he didn't have any business trips in the past week. Instinct told Lin 11 that Lu Lin must be hiding something from her. She called Lu Lin again. "Where are you? I'll look for you tomorrow." Lu Lin panicked when he heard that she was coming. Lin 11 would definitely feel distressed when she saw him like this, so she hurriedly said, "Just take care of the children at home. I'm just here to visit a friend. Don't hide it from me anymore. You can hide from the first grade of junior high school, but you can't hide from the 15th grade. I already know it." Who knew that Lin 11 originally wanted to blow him up, but Lu Lin really thought she knew everything. But after doing everything, he remembered that apart from the doctor, he himself knew about it. Lu Lin wanted to slap himself in the mouth. Lin 11, who knew the truth, was not angry. He just said that he had arranged for the two children and flew over to take care of him immediately. Lu Lin didn't refuse, so he just treated it as a holiday for himself, and the two of them could spend some time together, and just treat the child as an accident. End of this chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 39. Chapter 39. Food makes people happy. So Lin 11 flew out of town that night, and in an instant, only the two children and the nanny were left at home. The two children had already gone to bed when Lin 11 left, so she didn't have time to tell them. She just informed her relieved Aunt Wang and asked her to help take care of the children. Luzes, who was not surprised when he woke up the next day and found that Lin 11 had disappeared. Anyway, his unreliable parents had done this too many times over the years, and he had long been used to it, so it was not a surprise to him. However, Zhang Wanan didn't see Lin 11 feeling a little disappointed when she woke up early in the morning. She was so unhappy that she didn't even want to eat. "I don't know who said last night that I was no longer a child. It was just a slap in the face after only one night. As expected, he is a child and cannot listen to anything he says." Aunt Wang was responsible for sending them to school in the morning. Zhang Wanan looked unhappy all the way, as if she didn't want to go to school. "Why are you so depressed? Do you remember what you said last night?" Luzes, who reached out and poked her chubby face. "I don't remember." Zhang Wanan pouted and denied everything that happened last night. "Okay, seeing how unhappy you are, I originally wanted to take you out for dinner in the evening, but I think it's not necessary," Luzes who said. As expected, Zhang Wanan sat up straight as soon as he said that eating would definitely work, and taught Luzes who like a little adult, "You are not doing this right." Luzes who raised his eyebrows. "What's wrong? Even taking you out affects my mood." "No, think about it, you take me out only if I'm unhappy, so that I can be happy when I come back," Zhang Wanan continued to reason. Luzes who nodded thoughtfully. "Then why aren't you happy now? You have to wait until night to be happy. You don't understand this. I'm not happy now, but the delicious food in the evening makes people happy." "Oh, that's it. How come you speak so eloquently now? Who did you learn from that? You have a smooth tongue." "Hey, I won't tell you, but can you bring Sister Avril and Brother Jinchu with you tonight? We agreed to have dinner together last time." "Then can you be more reserved?" It bothered him to think about Zhang Wanan following Gu Jinchu's and calling Jinchu brother. Ah. What, can you do it?" Zhang Wanan bit her lip and thought, "I'll fight for the delicious food." She is so dignified that Zhang Wanan can bend and stretch. "Yes," Zhang Wanan said solemnly. After the carriage was quiet for a while, I suddenly heard the sound of Zhang Wanan patting her belly. She sighed. Her old-fashioned look was very interesting, and she seemed a little sad. "Well, sooner or later, Anan, who eats delicious food every day, will turn into a little fat guy in the future. No little brother will like Anan, it's so sad." Luzes, who pursed his lips and smiled after listening to her words, thinking that no matter what this little guy became in the future, he would always like her and protect her. But Jongwonen's next words made the corners of Luzes' mouth twitch. That's not right. He Chiu said that he will always like Anan, so don't be afraid. If you're not afraid, you won't be afraid anymore, he said and patted his chest, looking frightened. But she had no idea that Luzes was already in trouble. Emotions, she has forgotten what he said to her before? And he Chiu must be a fool too, otherwise why would he send chocolates first and then say he would always like Jongwonen? Anyone who can play with Jongwonen must have a low IQ. But when Luzes was thinking this, he forgot that he was also playing with Jongwonen. Again, be reserved, you are a girl. Luzes doesn't know how many times he will say this in his lifetime. End of this chapter. The Lu family's wife is so sweet. Author, Yoon. Chapter 40. Chapter 40, his little girl. Also, I must meet that He Chiu if I have a chance in the future, Luzes said through gritted teeth. He wanted to see who was trying to pry his little girl away. As soon as he arrived at school, Luzes told Avril and Gu Jinchu about having dinner together in the afternoon and wanted to ask if they had time. Then both people said they had time. However, Luzes was a little unhappy when Gu Jinchu had time, so he added, actually, it doesn't matter whether you go or not. Then you still ask me, how prejudiced are you against me, or are you no longer a good brother? Avril on one side looked at the two of them and couldn't help lowering her head and laughing. They didn't rush to eat, drink and have fun after school in the afternoon. After all, they still had homework, but they didn't go home either. The four of them went to a library together. There was a learning atmosphere there, which was definitely a good place to do homework. Jongwonen was just a kindergarten kid. After finishing a little homework, he lay on the table and read picture books out of boredom. Although Gu Jinchu had a lot of homework, he never did it seriously, and this time he escaped from his mother's control. He didn't take it seriously anymore. He just did it casually and wandered around. Jongwonen saw Gu Jinchu standing up and wandering around, so she wanted to get up and play too. Brother Jinchu, Jongwonen shouted softly, then pointed to herself and continued, take me with you. Gu Jinchu was so excited that he immediately came back and pulled Jongwonen, let's go. But after the two of them took a few steps, they felt as if their backs were being penetrated by someone. Gu Jinchu was all too familiar with this feeling, so he slowly let go of Jongwonen's hand. Go back, hurry up, he whispered, then ran back diligently, sat down and pretended to read, but all he could think about was having fun. Jongwonen pursed her lips tightly into her little hands and sat back. When both of them came back, Luzes looked at Gu Jinchu with a fierce look, go where you want to go by yourself, don't take her with me. No, she wanted to follow me. Gu Jinchu quickly passed the blame to Jongwonen. I don't care. If I say it's your fault, Luzes said while lowering his head to do his homework. Gu Jinchu. Is Luzes so crazy and willful now? Brother, it's really me. Jongwonen originally wanted to speak, but was interrupted mid-sentence. Shut up, Luzes snapped. The little guy is really capable. He actually dares to abandon him and run around behind Gu Jinchu. Huh, she doesn't even know who she is unless he treats her. The two who finished their homework waited for the other two. It was not until they finished that the four of them decided where to eat and what to eat. Since Jongwonen is the youngest, the three of them decided to ask her, if she is reliable, then listen, if not, forget it. Jongwonen gets very excited when he wants to eat something, and he often looks thoughtful, as if he is thinking about some important issue. However, eating is indeed very important to Jongwonen. Eat meat. Jongwonen came up with 3 words after thinking for a long time. 3 people. Sister, what kind of meat do you want to eat? Avril asked softly. Zhang Wanan shook her head and looked confused as to what kind of meat she should eat. There were so many meats that she didn't know how to choose. Then let's go eat steak, Gu Jinshu suggested. Yeah, Lu Zizhu responded. Since the four of them were together, they didn't ask the driver to follow them. They just had enough money and they could have called a taxi, but they wanted to experience squeezing a bus in the evening. So the four people got on the bus. Zhang Wanan, who was riding a bus for the first time, seemed a little excited. Compared to Zhang Wanan, Lu Zizhu looked much calmer. End of this chapter.